The reasons to treat yourself to a frozen drink from McDonald's go on and on. No reason is also a perfectly good reason. It's more than a drink. It's a McDonald's drink.
Enjoy our new frozen drinks today. Treat yourself to bold flavors like blue raspberry Fanta, wild cherry Fanta, and frozen Coke. At participating McDonald's, Coca-Cola and Fanta are registered trademarks of the Coca-Cola Company.
10, 9, 8. Ignition sequence has started. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
You have entered Untold Radio AM. And now broadcasting from a secret location, your hosts, Joel Sturgis and Doug Hajicek. And welcome to this edition of Untold Radio AM. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me is Mr. Doug Hajicek. And tonight we got a great show on tap for everybody tonight. We're going to be talking with the crypto-punkologist, Kenney W. Irish, is be joining us. And he is an accomplished author and also cryptozoologist. You want to sit in and relax and really enjoy what he has to say. I can't wait to talk to the guy. I think he's going to be very enlightening. And, of course, that'll be the bottom of the hour. So make sure you stick around. Again, Kenney W. Irish, the crypto-punkologist, will be joining us live at the bottom of the hour. And, Doug, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Had kind of a weird day, which I'm going to get into. But first off, tonight we were supposed to have Jesus Jr. on.
We were.
Jesus Jr., Pan from Breaking Bad. He called me and said, basically, my neighborhood's on fire and I need to bring food to the firemen.
Oh,
and I'm going to do that.
That's good of him.
And I said, you go.
What? If there's any better excuse in the world.
No, but
I don't know of any.
But I'm like, oh, okay, we don't have a guest tonight. But then, within minutes, Kenney Irish goes, am I on tonight? And I looked up real quick in my book, and I'm like, he's not coming on until May. And then I'm thinking, oh, yeah, you're on.
That's right. It worked out perfectly.
Yeah, so my mistake.
Worked out great.
So I screwed up,
now,
but it worked out.
You had a psychic moment when you booked them.
Yes.
Because in the back of your head, you just knew something was going to happen, and it did. And now we have Kenney with us.
Yeah, that's how I roll, Joe. That's how
it's going to work out. Just you always have a plan B, C, and D, don't you, Doug?
Yeah, see, that's just the way it works. It's just magic. It's magical.
Well, that's the way you roll.
Okay, so I got to tell you about my morning. So I get up this morning. You come down. You come downstairs. You're gonna make coffee or, whatever. And I turn the faucet, and there's no water, like not even one drop. Nothing.
Oh my God. So you're a waterless man at this point.
Yeah, so I'm like...
And worst of all, no coffee.
Well, no, I mean, there's bottled water in the house. But it's just the point, I'm like, well, what's going on? Then all of a sudden, I'm standing in the kitchen, kind of confused about the water. And all of a sudden, kaboom! I hear this, explosion and the house shakes. And I'm like, what the heck is... what's going on? So I run to the front door. Open the door and a package drops on my feet. And there's a pink note. And there's a whole bunch of workmen in the street. So I don't know what to look at. So I'm figuring I'll go for the pink note. So I grab the pink note and it says, we're replacing your water main today.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, well, that's kind of nice you warned us. And then I look and all these big trucks are blocking my driveway and, whatever. And I'm thinking, oh, whatever. Well, I'll get it done. But then I look at the notes. It's like it's going to be 8 hours till the water's on. And of course I'm thinking, oh, I guess I'm not taking a shower today. So then I make coffee with, bottled water, drink some coffee. What do you do after you drink coffee? You got to pee.
Right.
But there's no water. So I'm thinking,
no water.
So I'm going to pee in the toilet. Not trying to gross anybody out. But then it's going to sit there all day. And then Yvette's going to come back home and she's going to yell at me. Why is
there pee in the toilet?
In the toilet.
Why does it smell? And it's your fault because you're the guy and you were here. And it would just be a chain reaction of negativity.
Yes. So that's where I got the bright idea to tell her about what's going on. Go out and take pictures. So I take a bunch of pictures and I text her. But instead of texting her, I text Jesus Jr.
Oh.
By accident again. So he gets all this data and information about all this. He probably has no idea, what. Have you ever done that? You just.
I have. And let me just say it was not as innocent.
Yeah.
As some trucks. I mean, yeah. Let me tell you.
Okay. So then I'm going to pee. And then I go, oh, I have this great epiphany. Oh my God, there's water in the tank, right? So I can still flush it. No problem. So pee. I hit the flush button, flushes.
But that's the only flush you had, Doug.
But no, listen, no, that's in that one toilet. We got 5 toilets.
We got 5 of them.
But here's where it gets really interesting. So apparently they had been pumping air into the water main all day. I think it was about up to 500 psi. So I flushed the toilet and it all flushed. But then the toilet valve opens to refill the toilet tank. That's when the rush of 500 psi of air started shooting into the toilet tank. That's when the toilet lid blew off. The toilet started shaking. I thought the thing was going to blow. Because unlike a faucet, if you open it up and air shoots out, you're just going to close it, right?
Yeah.
The toilet doesn't close because it only closes when it fills with water.
Yes.
Not when it fills with air.
Yes. So how long was your toilet hissing?
Oh, hissing? Oh, my God. Okay. Have you ever shot one of those air cannons off? Like a potato
gun. Yep.
Something like that?
Yep.
No, this was like that times 100.
Oh, my God.
It was scary. I literally ran.
Are you talking that the porcelain lid on the back of the tank came flying off?
Yes.
The toilet. Those things weigh like 20 pounds.
I know. But that wasn't over then, because now the inside of the guts of the toilet are just like, they're just like sounds and spurts and explosions coming out of the toilet like I've never heard.
Destruction.
Oh, it was bad. I literally ran into the other room.
Wow. So it was Doug Hajicek.
Well, again, whatever I did, I'm sure I wrecked whatever they were doing. Because I looked out the window and they're all like gathered around trying to figure out what the heck happened. So anyhow,
so your toilet may be beyond repair at this point.
I have no idea.
It may be, that poor thing might be done for.
Well, you know how if you ever let the air out of a truck tire or a car tire, like if you just let it out all at once?
Yep.
This was like 1,000 car tires.
Going off at one time. 500 psi of air burst.
That's what I was guessing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't good.
That's bad, Doug.
That's my toilet story.
And you got to figure now, the pipe leading to your toilet to feed it is no more bigger than 3/4 inch, 1/2 inch. So you have to figure the copper line.
So that adds power.
Yeah, it compresses it.
Oh yeah, the velocity.
Now your water is back on, I'm
Yes.
assuming, in your home.
Yes.
And there was no leaks that you know of in the line,
Didn't check.
because that's a lot of pressure.
Well then just hang on. I got the shower story. Haven't even got to the shower story.
Oh, see, I had a great idea. I'm gonna try to take a shower now.
Well, no, the water came on, right?
Okay.
So I thought, well, I'm gonna take a shower now. So apparently they repressurized the lines again. So I go to turn the shower, get it warmed up. And little water came out, and then the giant, what do you call it? The gadoosh of the air came out of
that works
came out of the shower head, and then water again, powered by 500 psi. The entire bathroom was soaked.
Oh.
And I'm like, this is not my day.
This is just a bad day.
It's not my.
You might as well just gone back to bed at that point.
Yeah.
And be like,
Oh my goodness. So anyhow, moving on.
So there you are, knowing, after the toilet incident and running away and hiding, running for your own life and safety and limb and well-being.
Yep.
It wasn't done with you yet. You turned the shower on.
No. Yep.
And it was like that parting gift of pressure.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, it just kept giving too. But it was like a water cannon. Then it would stop. Then another water cannon. But it was hitting the side of the shower. But it was flowing over the top. And I'll be damned, I wasn't going near it because I didn't know.
I was going to say, were you standing in the shower at this point?
No, I'm not that stupid. I didn't want to get hit in the, what? With the shower head getting ripped off the threads.
That would be horrible.
Man killed by shower head.
Yeah. News at 10.
I'd be the only guy. I'd be the first one.
You'd be it. You would be in the Darwin Awards.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'd probably be number 12.
Yeah, number 1.
Darwin Awards. Well, maybe.
Did you ever?
I didn't want to give you.
Is that even real? Because I keep
that
hearing
is real. You've never heard of the? I mean, you've obviously heard of the.
Oh my God, I can repeat more Darwin Award stories, but do I know if any of them are true? Heck no.
They have a website.
Have you ever heard of the JATO rocket Darwin Award?
Yes.
Really? You did not.
Okay. Well, why don't you explain it to the audience then? What's the JATO?
The guy that stole a JATO rocket is something they would attach or bolt on to these big, huge C-31 bombers to help them take off, right?
Yeah.
And they would ignite these JATO rockets because apparently it's some kind of flammable propellant.
Yep.
Well, the story goes that a sheriff comes by. He sees skid marks going for miles down the highway. Right?
And he's strapped to the top of his car.
He can't figure out what in the world. Why are there skid marks for miles on the road? What in the world? Then he looks up and he sees a Chevelle with a rocket welded onto the trunk, up 100 feet in the air, stuck into a cliff.
Everyone's heard that one. Now, is it true or not? That's the question.
I have no.
Snopes would have that information if it's true or not.
Did you ever hear the one about the diver found in the middle of the forest?
Yes, I have. That one I have heard of.
So yeah, apparently the guy's diving. He's got his dive flags up, and there was a forest fire nearby. Those
and they
big,
came to suck the water.
Yeah, those huge scoop planes comes in, apparently scoops them into the holding tank. Goes up to 1,000 feet up in the air and drops them on a forest fire.
Yeah, that's impossible.
Yeah, and they find the diver in the middle of the, in full scuba gear, dead.
Yeah, that's bull. That never happened. No way. 100% no way.
You're probably the one that made up that story.
Nope, I'm not the guy. But I know a guy that knows a guy that might have done it.
Oh,
made up the story. But none of that's. I mean, some of the Darwin Awards, if you go to their website, they're real. You can look them up, and there's the notice of death and the obituaries and things like that. The usually they accompany, a lot of them will accompany a newspaper article from the local newspaper saying so and so died tragically by, and a lot of times they'll list misadventure. Died via misadventure.
I remember the one about the brick. Some guy was going to break into a liquor store. So he throws a brick to break the window and it ricocheted,
Yeah, it ricochets off and hits him in the head.
Hit him in the head.
But isn't that instant karma, Doug?
Yep.
That's just instant karma. That's karma saying not today, or any other day for you.
Yep.
Now.
So have you ever heard of the Twitter telescope?
No. Why would I? What's a Twitter telescope?
So I heard about this today. Okay. So they have this new LST telescope program where it's taking, it took 17 billion logged stars, right? Cataloged them all. And then there's this telescope they're building on Earth that's going to do all these comparatives to these 17 billion stars, kind of like in real time or like every 30 seconds. And so you can sign up. And if there's any change in any of those stars, you get notified by a Twitter account.
Who the hell cares?
Well, here's what's going on, dude. It is cool because they're already finding some stars are disappearing.
Well, yeah,
just
but we
blinking
knew
out.
that for years. It's called supernovas.
Well, no. These are not turning. No, they're just disappearing.
No.
Just gone.
Gone.
Just gone.
Just blink right out.
Yep, gone. So I want you to sign up for this, right? It's called.
I'm going to look this up right now.
I want you to sign up for this. It's like the 30-second telescope Twitter. So you sign up and it's going to keep you up all night. But here's the deal. So you get notified, and let's say you're a citizen scientist or astronomer, then you can pick what you want to go chase. Because it might be something really weird, and then you can start chasing that data. 75,000 people have already applied.
I'm on their Twitter feed right now.
Whose?
The telescope thing that you can look on Twitter.
Oh, okay. There you go.
I'm looking at it. It's the Twitter telescope.
Yeah, see, I told you.
It's real. I thought for sure that it was just going to be a spoof, that you're like, hey, there's a Twitter telescope. Yeah, it's tweeting now. But it is indeed there. It's called the OPT Telescope Authority. So,
I'm going to ask you a question, Joel.
Okay.
I will buy you Jimmy John's. If you
really, Doug? Really, Doug? Come on, Jimmy John's. Come on.
That's the best I can do.
Than that.
It's the best I can do.
That's not the best you can do.
It's delicious.
He's lowballing me, folks. Do you hear this? He's lowballing me. Okay. All right. Jimmy John's it is.
How big is the aperture on your cell phone? How big is the lens?
I don't know. Tiny. I don't know.
Just give me a...
I don't know. I've never really... Let me look at my cell phone here. Let me take a look at this thing. I would say that it's probably about 10 to 12 centimeters.
Oh, my God. First off, a centimeter is almost like 3/4 of an inch. You're talking millimeters.
Millimeters, sorry. It's been a long day, and I live in America.
Okay. No, it's 3.6 millimeters. That's the aperture.
Okay.
On all cell phones. Okay. This telescope has an aperture of 8 meters.
So what you say is big.
It's 21 feet,
Yeah.
I'm doing my conversion right in my head. It's like 21-foot aperture. Think of the light that lets in. Oh my!
That is amazing, and it's in Carlsbad, California, by the way.
Yeah, see, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can log into it if you're
Is it
listening.
open? Is it open?
I'm looking at some of these pictures they're shooting out there right now. It's pretty cool. It is pretty cool.
But
It's worth
think about
checking out.
it took them 10 years to log 17 billion stars.
That's a lot of time. Now, who's doing this? NASA? Who owns this thing?
I don't even know.
I mean, they're calling it the Telescope Authority. Okay, we got that part.
That's who it is.
Okay, so they must be the owners of this.
Yeah.
And they're looking deep into the Milky Way. Here's one of them. It's cool. It's pretty. They're getting some phenomenal shots. And you're telling me that these stars, which we all know are suns in distant,
right?
Distant solar systems, are disappearing at a breakneck pace.
Yeah, but they should.
Lots of them.
I know, but listen. So if there's planets rotating around it or orbiting around them, you're not going to blot the whole sun out.
No.
So what's going on? So some of the theories are that they're like building superstructures around them and solar panels, and they're blind. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, but you have that many stars. You have billions, and you're looking at these billions of stars. Is it possible you misplaced a couple?
Sure.
And you're like, man, we thought one was there, but evidently it's not there. So...
I just signed you up. for Twitter, Star Twitter.
Oh, okay.
30-second telescope Twitter.
Good. Yep. I feel much better about that.
Yeah,
I'll be looking at it.
Okay.
You're gonna be looking at it.
What else is new in my world? Oh, there's another thing new in my world.
It's
and
all
I'm going to shut up.
World.
And I'm not going to say one word during the whole Kenney Irish interview.
Oh, don't you do that now. Come on now. Gosh.
Okay. They have a new theory on how life evolved now. Totally different. I'm talking about their early life, right?
So there's really, just to catch everyone up, there's two schools of thought right now that until Doug unveils his newest one. A is creationism, where a god created us and engineered us, And then the other one is that we evolved through time. We began as a popular thought is a sea-dwelling creature and made our way on the land.
Joel, you started out as a sponge.
I probably did. Because it takes so much. I won't go there.
Anyhow. But they used to always think that, life started in the ocean. Mm-hmm. Right? In salt water.
That's what we were taught as children.
They have pretty much proven that's not true now. Now they think, that we started because of fresh water. So fresh water hits a volcano like a volcanic island. Mm-hmm. Water runs down the mountain.
Yeah.
And because the volcano. Apparently, I have a new way to pronounce.
You just made a new word.
Yeah, volcano. Anyway,
volcano.
The other day, by the way, I asked for mayonnaise.
But you're not wrong. You're just phonetically.
And I've been teased for over a week now.
About the mayonnaise?
Mayonnaise. So anyhow, Yvette's teasing me about mayonnaise. She goes and orders, and because she was teasing me so long and saying it, she said it.
She started saying it. See, now it's become a thing.
Okay. So anyhow, back to the life. So rainwater runs down the mountain of these, volcano. And apparently there's every vitamin that's on your vitamin jar. Right? Mm-hmm. In this volcanic, there I did it again, volcanic ash, and never mind. So, it runs. So it rains. It collects this minerals and like silica and things.
Okay.
And then it goes into a warm freshwater pool, where it's warm like a hot bath, and that's when these RNA membranes formed. And then they create polymers, and the next thing you know, you got a sponge. And the next thing you know, naked Joel just jumps out.
Just jumped right out there.
Yep.
I'm here. Yeah.
So anyhow, I wanted to
So how
I
did
wanted
you
to give
come
an example of
across?
how bad I can dumb down science.
Okay. Yeah. Well, anyhow, how did you come across this theory?
I don't remember.
You don't remember? You can't cite your source, Doug?
The internet?
No. Yeah. You got to tell me where I can read this peer review.
It was a lecture.
Now I'm doing it. Oh my gosh. Peer reviewed study.
Mayonnaise.
So just stop. So I'm just curious
I
where you
watched
got
a
this
lecture. Okay, so here's me. So I'll have a podcast going, a lecture going, right? And then the TV will be on, watching the news.
from. And you're doing it all at once.
All at once, and I'm writing like a script or something.
Wait. How are you able to focus on any one thing at that time?
That's attention and oh my God, I cannot talk tonight.
It'll be okay.
Attention
It'll be okay.
deficit problem,
Yeah.
I think.
Well, it served you well, evidently.
Yeah. You can, because you listen for keywords. So it's like boring. All of a sudden there's a keyword, then you tune in. Then you ignore the other one because it's boring. All of a sudden you hear a keyword. Then you tune. Then there's a keyword on the news you want to hear. Like tsunami or what.
Gotcha. You're scanning is what you're doing. You're scanning
just like
keywords.
A police scanner.
You're looking for them.
That's how I learn.
And that's how you learn is through those keywords. And volcano must have been the key word in that, I'm going to assume, peer-reviewed study.
Yeah, whatever.
It holds water.
So it's police scanner learning.
Oh, man.
You're exhausted, aren't you?
I'm I'm a good multitasker. I am, but I don't know if I could do 5 things at once and listen for keywords.
And you got to do it at 4 a.m.
Well, see, now you know I sleep.
But then
know this.
I'll have an e-bike I'm working on.
Because you texted me at 4 a.m. and you're like, why didn't you text me back? Doug, it was 4 a.m. I was sleeping. You sleep? Yes, I sleep. Do you sleep? No, it's a waste of my time. Seriously, I'm not even joking, Doug. Do you remember that conversation?
Yeah, I FaceTimed somebody this morning at like 5 a.m.
And they're like, why are you calling me at 5 a.m.?
I don't know.
They're probably like...
It's a butt dial.
So, what does poor Yvette do? Does she sleep normal hours, or do you keep her up with you scanning the frequencies?
Thinks I'm insane.
Oh, well, I met your wonderful other half, and let me tell you, she might be onto something.
So anyhow, but so what else? You got anything? That's what I got.
Well, we have 2 minutes left before we have our great guest on. So I really got nothing. I mean, you kind of took the wind out of the sails of the whole volcano thing.
Well, volcanoes? No, Joel, think about it. Volcanoes, toilets, right? And
you had it all happen today to you.
Telescopes all have a lot in common. But think about it. Life evolved where I like to take a bath, hot bath, once in a while. Yeah. Usually I shower, but
yeah.
But isn't it weird that life started in a hot bath?
Not really. No, I don't find that too weird.
It's full circle. Joel,
it is.
It's like full circle.
Yeah,
and that's what you do. You, at the end of the day, you go draw a nice hot bath, and you get
No, I don't. I'm running for my life. At the end of the day, I am hectically or frantically taking care of business. I don't have time. Ain't got no time for that. Ain't nobody got no time for that. Hey, you got time for showers or baths to draw yourself a nice bath?
Somebody told me yesterday I was the OG of Bigfoot. Now, what the heck did he mean?
The original gangster of Bigfoot. Okay.
No.
Well, I think it was a compliment at the same time as being a bit of a...
This is your new home speaking. I know you haven't moved in yet, but I need some favors. Could you dust the blinds? The dust makes me feel dusty. Also, we could save a lot of money if you bundled your home and car insurance with Geico. It's super easy to do online or over the phone. Last favor, when you move in, could you stick to one aesthetic? The last owner had a weird mix of floral wallpaper and nautical tchotchkes, and I can't have another identity crisis.
Geico. For bundling made easy, go to geico.com today.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/offer. That's ZipRecruiter.com/offer.
Yeah.
Old joke? I'm not sure. I'll have to ponder on that one. We got to run a break. When we come back, we're going to be talking with the crypto punkologist. Kenney Irish will be joining us next. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If you can hear me, then you have an internet connection, which means you can do cool things online, like listen to streaming radio, obviously, or watch a video of a monkey washing a cat. Let your freak flag fly. Or you can book a room at a great price at Motel6.com. Isn't the internet wonderful? Everything you want right at your fingertips, and whoa, did not need to see that. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Unexpected reactions to smart financial decisions brought to you by feedthepig.org.
Well, I finally did it. My student loan is totally paid off.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it either. I paid more than the minimum each month, and soon enough, it was gone.
So you're just giving up?
Giving up on what?
The life of luxury. Egyptian cotton, caviar Thursdays, designer everything.
What are you talking about?
Our plan. What happened to winning the lottery and mastering the art of the perfect mimosa? Hosting galas, wearing enough jewelry to require a bodyguard, vacationing in the French Riviera, and then buying it.
I just thought maybe it was time to prepare for my future. You know, set some financial goals, make some smart investments, open a 401k.
Financial goals? Investments? A 401k? You are horrifying right now. Listen, if winning the lottery were easy, everyone would do it.
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
So me and the boys head out to tailgate today and find some other fans in our spot.
Well, it happens.
Cheering for the wrong team.
Oh, this is war.
Even worse, they've got this couch set up and everything.
A couch?
Yeah, it's sectional.
All right, first thing, don't ever use the word sectional again.
Done.
Second, I want you to grab a 4,700-pound tow chain with J-hook and grab hammer. Throw that on the back of your truck.
Got it.
Now you're going to Hail Mary the J-hook over the end of that couch. Time to find a better spot for your new friends.
That should do it.
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Taking a family of 5 to the amusement park can cost a small fortune.
Oh, yeah. So to save some money, we thought, hey, let's bring the amusement park to us. Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. Step right up, young man. Are you ready to ride the wacky waterfall?
That's just the bathtub with the shower head running.
Nope, it's the wacky waterfall.
It's the shower, Dad.
Waterfall.
Wacky.
There's an easier way to save. To get a free rate quote, go to geico.com. Then buy online, over the phone, or at your local Geico office.
Green light. Hey, girl. School zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on 2 things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
and welcome back to Untold Radio AM. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me is Mr. Doug Hajicek. Hey, Doug.
How you doing?
Did you survive it?
Yeah.
The toilet didn't blow up in the background. I thought I heard a big kaboosh, and I thought, oh, that's it. Okay.
That was quite a half hour we had.
That was quite a half hour. You had a lot of weird things happen to you all one day.
Yeah.
Look at that. And it's not done yet.
No.
You brought that to my attention. We're not done yet.
No, now we got Kenney. And before we bring on Kenney, did we mention that we had to swap? Yeah, we did. We mentioned we had to swap gas.
We did. Yep.
He's going to be on, I believe, May 20. Oh God, I can't remember. May 26th.
Yeah, that'll be good. That'll be good stuff right there. So you want to tune in for
And
that.
next week we've got Ken Walker from Big Fur.
Yep.
Who is just...
And then we go full on Mandela effect.
Yes,
the week after.
with Cynthia.
Yep. So you're not going to want to miss any of that. We got some great shows coming up. And of course, if you haven't been there, shame on you. Shame. But no, check us out at UntouldRadioAM.com. There you can hear all the archives. You can buy some of the swag of ours. You can stop in and say hi. You can watch some exclusive content. You can hear the exclusive shows. So all that goodness. And we keep things changing on the website too. So you get to get all your content, articles, accompany every one of these bios telling you about who these people
one last thing. We are selling books now.
Yes.
Untold Publishing.
Yep, that's right. Untold Publishing is definitely rocking out there. So that is something that's coming up. So if you're an author and you want a wider reach and you've had a hard time figuring out the pitfalls of being an author, contact us. Contact Untold Publishing. And they'll get you hooked up and get you distributed out there. So definitely take advantage of that. But let's talk about what's important tonight. Tonight we have Kenney W. Irish, a.k.a. the Crypto-Punkologist on. Author of American Cryptids in Pursuit of the Elusive Creatures. A little bit about Kenney. He has regularly attended and spoke at writers groups and various other platforms across the country. He has a passion for writing young readers chapter books and released 2 publications to date. And the most recent, can't read tonight, my gosh, with DMP generating high volume sales and distribution. In late 2020, he signed the Beyond the Fray Publishing in March 2021, releasing American Cryptids in Pursuit of the Elusive Creatures. I also want to throw out there that he is a #1 bestseller on Amazon, and that's not easy to do. Let me tell you, that takes some effort. Kenney, I'd like to welcome you to the show. How you doing, my friend?
Fantastic. Pleasure to be here. Definitely. Been looking forward to talking with you, gentlemen.
Yeah. I gotta say, I was looking at your stuff. Very, very impressive. What got a nice guy like you into a filthy field like a Bigfoot? No, I call it filthy because we have to go outside sometimes. It's dirt.
Yeah. I grew up in northern Vermont, and my first, I'd say, introduction to any type of like real life monster cryptid would be Champlain monster. And being a young lad, like I was big into like King Kong and Godzilla and the Incredible Hulk. And for me, it was just so incredible to think that there could be a large reptilian Godzilla-like creature living in the lake right near where I live. And that just kind of set me on the path of no turning back ridiculousness, banging my head off the wall, trying to find as many answers as I possibly can, and but coming up with more questions. And so I did that, for a long time. Just was really into monsters, and through school I constantly wrote, and when I was supposed to be paying attention, I was either writing about monsters or I was, drawing pictures of creatures, and, just did that all, kind of through my my middle school years, and got into high school, and kind of, put it kind of on the back burner because, freshman year it wasn't cool to like talk about monsters. Like you had to like talk about like girls and music and cars, and so I kind of fell into that that random group of peer pressure, if you will. And I'd say probably my senior year was when I kind of really got pulled back into it. I ended up taking this class for just for some extra credits. It was called Gothic Tales, and the whole semester all we did was watch Stephen King movies and watch like monster movies. And we ended up having this one segment where we the teacher started talking about different cryptids, and he brought up like Bigfoot and Mothman, different different legends, and I just got like pulled back in at that point in time. Just kind of hooked. And and I had always heard of like Sasquatch and Bigfoot, but the biggest thing for me was like the way I perceived it and the way it was communicated to me when I first heard about it. I was probably maybe about 10 or so. It was brought to my attention that there was one Bigfoot, and it was just running all around the earth, and if you wanted to see it, good luck, but folks had seen it. So he kind of brought me into a different direction, and and kind of brought these other authors to me, and these different individuals who pursued, and that's when I first saw like the Patterson Gimlin footage. He played that in there, and that kind of kind of took me back a little bit. And so from there I just kind of just been kind of doing my own thing for a long time. Just writing and researching, and when I saw the Patterson Gimlin footage, from there I kind of started working my way forward, from like to like 68, 69, what folks were saying about cryptids and Sasquatch. And to me, I was more of the kind of guy where I'm like, I want to learn like where this all came from, not just from 1967 forward. So that's when I kind of went out on my own, and kind of separated from some of the people that again just wanted to do from 67 forward. And I started going backwards because I'm like, I want to know where these legends come from. I want to know what they're all about. And that's when I kind of got sucked into like the Native American lore, and that's my happy place. I just love, and I guess the best way for me to say it is, I just give them so much credit, because you can go back, you can read, publications and different encounters, and they stay so consistent through the years.
Yeah.
Where 3 years from now, something that is being said right now, that somebody's saying like their encounter, 3 years from now, a lot of the time it's totally completely different. But the Native Americans, they had nothing to prove. They weren't out trying to make money. They weren't out trying to do this or that. So I really respect them. And again, just to pass those stories down and the legends down over the years, because in my opinion, we wouldn't know really anything about them if it wasn't for them just, talking about them, and again, passing it down generation to generation. So I ended up, I'd say back in 2012 or so, I started writing again. Because I was writing music for a while. I was playing in bands and doing different types of touring, putting some albums out, and I love punk and I love hardcore, and just kind of went cold turkey on that, because I kind of needed a little bit of time to myself, because the music business is a vampire. I mean, it really is. It just sucks the lifeblood out of you. So I put that down and just, kind of retired the stages and picked up just writing again. And that's when I wrote my first Young Readers chapter book called Kevin in the Upside Down Halloween, and did real well. I had signed with a decent sized publisher, and we kind of had a falling out. And so I continued to write and research, and just learn different tactics, going out in the woods, and looking up to some mentor folks that have been in the subject for a long time. And from there, just kind of just got signed with another publisher and released Stanley Riker, the Bigfoot Runaround, back in 2020, and then released American Cryptids back in 2021. So that's kind of like the 30,000 foot view of where I started and where I am today.
Yeah, you've definitely been busy, very busy. Well, one thing you mentioned, but really kind of got my attention, was you'd mentioned the Native American lore. What I've always found interesting, especially like about Bigfoot and other cryptids, there's no way these tribes were communicating with each other. I mean, they could be way across the country from each other, but yet they have the same account of the same creatures.
Right.
And there's just no way that they're going to come together and go, let's make this up. Let's make up this little tale about this big hairy man running around. And so I found that always to be some of the best evidence, not because the Bigfoot itself, but the fact that they weren't talking to each other at all, but yet they had the same accounts.
Yeah. What I find really interesting too is, all the accounts are very, very much the same, but yet there's always a little different, like depending on which part of like the country you're on, or which part of the earth you're on. You get the same similar encounters, but yet some are a little bit different. Like some tribes refer to them as another tribe of people, while others refer to them as just like a hairy man running around in the woods. Some tribes talked about how they communicated with them and lived in harmony, while other tribes talked about how in the middle of the night, if they weren't careful, they would come and steal the women and the children. So, but yet it's like the one fact or the one thing that remains the same is the appearance and just the way that it carried itself. So again, just to pass down the generation, and and who knows, I've had people say to me, when it comes to well, it was a tribe of hairy people, and I'm like, okay, well, hypertrichosis, everybody. I mean, I've heard about it, on certain people here and there, but I mean, for a whole tribe of people, I don't know. To me, it just doesn't line up.
Yeah, not like such a rare condition.
Amazon is hiring in Shakopee, and it literally pays to start now. Get a $1,000 sign-on bonus on top of competitive wages. You'll do important work sorting packages before they go out for delivery on a team that supports each other and works hard to handle whatever the day brings. So find a role and a schedule that fits your life. And now through May 30th, get a $1,000 sign-on bonus. Let's work together. Visit Amazon.com/sign-on bonus. Amazon is an equal opportunity employer.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/offer. That's ZipRecruiter.com/offer.
Yeah.
What is there, a handful of documented cases? I mean, of that? Yeah. I mean, and then to take a whole group of a whole race of people potentially, and they all have this hypertrichosis? Not a chance.
Yeah, I mean, unless it was hundreds of years ago, it was more common. But I mean, you'd think you would read about that. There'd be some type of written history on it, and there really isn't. And like you said, there's only a handful. So yeah, I mean, again, just the Native American lore and just passing it down from generation to generation really. It's just really intrigues me. It really does, and it really keeps me interested. I love nowadays. There's so much about nowadays. How there's some technology being brought into going out and coming up with looking at videos and analyzing different videos. But like I said, there's this for me. It just as a young kid, like one of the things I loved was The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. And by chance, I happen to live now, I'd say maybe about 50 minutes from that actual area where they say that, that actually took place. you know, and a lot of people are like, well, it's just a story. But then you talk to some of the people that live out in the Kinderhook, New York area where Sleepy Hollow is, they'll tell you, they're like, no, it's not just a story. You know, this is something that really happened. So I think that there, you know, was there a headless guy? I don't know. But, you know, you know as well as I do that, you know, to every story, there's some truth there.
There's a grain, that
brought
there's a grain of that truth.
So,
yeah. Oh, definitely.
So Kenney, what stands out the most about American Cryptids to you? I mean, you obviously wrote it for a reason. I've thought about writing a Bigfoot book, and you think I could come up with one thing that's new and unique, and yet I saw your book, and I'm like, oh my God, it's brilliant. Your cover was even brilliant. So what made you want to write that book?
Pretty much. When I first started writing it, I did exactly what every other cryptozoologist, paranormal person did to write their book. Like, chapter 1, the Wendigo. Chapter 2, the Chupacabra. And I'm like, wait, you know, I'm pretty much just doing what everybody's already done, what all the greats have already done. So I'm like, you know, how can I personalize this and really make this about the reader and the subject at the same time? So I sat down and I said, you know what, I'm going to do all 50 states, and I don't want to just be the author of the book, I want to be your guide. So I wrote it in a sense where, you know, it opens up and I'm taking you through some state history. And then from there, I introduced the Native American, one of the Native American tribes from that certain state. And then talk about the important or the popular cryptid from that state. You know, talk about some encounters, this and that, and then close it out with a Bigfoot encounter. So it was really one of those things where, again, I didn't want to do what everybody else has already done. All the greats have already done it, and you know, what was I going to bring forth that was different, that was going to make it stick out and make people also feel like a connection to it. So one of the things for me is, you know, if I'm in a bookstore or anything like that, and I see a book that says like Vermont on it or something, I'm going to pick it up. I'm going to look in it, and I'm going to read about my state. I'm going to read some things, and I'm going to feel kind of a personal connection with it. So that was kind of my reasoning behind giving some state history, and it's a lot of people I talk to, they're like, the first thing I did when it got here, I went right to my state. I wanted to see what you wrote, and they're like, it was great. They're like, there's other states that I've lived in that I thought were, you know, fantastic, you know, and I love living there, so I went to those states. I had friends that lived in certain states, and so they bought the book and they went in there. So again, I feel like I'm taking people on a tour, I guess, kind of through my my nut job mind, if you will, and just a tour across the country. And you know, I love history. I've never been good at it, but you know, retaining it. But I love history, and again, love the Native American lore. Love everything cryptid. Love everything legend. Everything monster, and just a big Bigfoot fan. So it was definitely, I would say, it was the first nonfiction book that I wrote. So it was very different at the same time, because you know, with fiction you can pretty much put anything down. Nonfiction, I mean, there's so much fact checking you got to do, and then when you take into account that you got 50 chapters that you got to fact check, so it was definitely a lot of work, but I loved almost every second of it, and it came out better than I expected it to, and it's actually doing better than I expected it to. And not that I thought it wasn't going to do well, but you know, it's just, you know, I'm my own worst critic.
Mm-hmm.
How long did it take you to put this all together, Kenney?
Well, I would say when I started writing it, and the first few manuscripts that I threw out, it was probably a couple of years to get everything, to get it to really where I wanted it to be. Because again, you know, I kind of found myself, I mean, there were times where, you know, for like a month, I walked away from it because I'm just like, I hate what I'm writing. I just don't like what I'm doing here. I'm not appreciating what I'm doing, and I feel like I'm just going to put something else out there that's going to tell everybody the same exact thing about the Mothman, the same exact thing about the Chupacabra, Champ. You know, and I'm like, you know, that's good and all, but again, why is somebody going to want to pick up this book? You know, and you know, you know, there's so many guys out there. Like you got your Lyle Blackburns, your Lauren Colemans, your Ken Gerhards. Why are they going to pick up my book? So,
so what state has the most monsters? Or I could just ask, which chapter is the thickest?
Boy, you know, it's. I guess I can't really answer that because they're all pretty. I mean, you know, I took like the popular cryptid from the state, and you know, you know, put some information in about it. You know, different encounters, and all of them were kind of different. So it's like for some, you know, there's like, you know, it showed up for 3 weeks and then nobody's ever seen it again. And then there's other creatures that have shown up, and you know, every month there's an encounter. So it really kind of falls, you know, it kind of falls in that category of what's what. But I will say, with this book, one of the things when I was in, because there were so many things, like I had mentioned before, that I did not want to do while I was writing it. I wanted to have a Bigfoot encounter at the end of every chapter, but I did not want to be that guy that just went online, Googled the BFRO or whatever, and pulled encounters off and threw them in my book, because I just didn't want to be that guy. So I'm like, okay, so I need, how am I going to get, you know, Bigfoot sightings from all 50 states? How in the world am I going to do this? So that was like 3 months of brainstorming. And so many times, you know, I wanted to just be like, okay, I'm going to tap out, and I'm going to just go the easy route and just, you know, but then I finally pulled myself together and I said, you know what, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. Mm-hmm. So I ended up coming up with this plan, and I did use Google, but what I did was I used Google Maps, and I pulled every single state up, and I would zoom in on an area that was like, you know, really foresty, woodsy, and then I researched the closest little town near it, and then from there, what I did was I looked to find out what mom and pop stores were there, diners, barbershops, and I simply just called them up and I said, hey, I'm writing a book on Bigfoot. I heard there's been some sightings in your area. What can you tell me? And if the person who I was talking to didn't know somebody, they knew somebody who knew somebody that had one. And so that's how I was able to obtain one from all the states without, you know, again, going online and just, you know, trying to pull up you know, just ones that have been written, you know, already. So, and I would talk to a few different people from each state, and how I picked the one to put in there was really the people who weren't looking. Like, there were people that I got on the phone with, and they were Bigfoot researchers and everything. And, you know, I had this encounter, I did this, I did that, all this detail. You know, most, you know, Bigfoot Sasquatch encounters are seconds. You know, 5 seconds at the most. So some of the people I was talking to, like, the detail was so in depth, like they hung out and went out to eat dinner with the creature. So, but the people that were like, I wasn't looking, you know, I was just out, I was fishing, I was driving down the road, I was hiking. They were the ones that I went with. They're not as exciting as what some of the other stories that the other folks were telling me, but those are the ones I went with because, again, number one, they weren't looking, and to me that's huge. Number two, I got less detail, but a lot of emotion from them, which meant a lot because, you know, for them it was very life-changing for them, even though it was only a few seconds. You know, they saw something running, they saw, you know, whatever it was. But that really resonated with me. And the fact that they weren't like they weren't like, you know, you're not going to put my name in there, are you? It's like they weren't overly ambitious on having their name in there. And again, it was an encounter that they didn't expect, they weren't looking for, and it's changed their life. So the ones that I went with were ones that, again, they weren't looking, they weren't Bigfoot investigators. I did get, some folks I talked to where one guy was like, yeah, I've seen Bigfoot. I've seen lots of them. I'm like, well, how many? He's like, hundreds. And I just, hung up. I'm like, all right. I don't, I just, and then
you kind of got weed out the ones that were just obvious over the top, just to maybe get in the book.
Yeah.
The people that were genuine.
Yeah, exactly.
And had a real sighting.
Exactly. And that was the big thing for me, where, again, the folks who weren't even looking, and for me, that really stuck out. So I think there might be one, I can't remember the state, but there is one that I talked to somebody who, it already is a recorded encounter somewhere. But other than that, the other 49, they were just regular people, people. And again, I wanted to do something different. I didn't want to do what anybody else did. So the whole book is very odd in a way, because again, it's not what you really expect when you pick it up, because you don't really even hear about any monsters until halfway through each chapter. But again, that's by design. And
I was gonna ask, did you find it really difficult to find witnesses, or super easy?
Some states were a little bit harder than others, but I would say in the end, it didn't turn out to be as hard as I thought it was going to be, because the first challenge is, how am I going to get myself to all 50 states? Well, I know I can't travel to all 50 states. I run a business during the week, so it's like, I know I can't. So I'm like, how can I do this and not be generic? So there were times where I called, I had to make 5 or 6 different phone calls before I got somebody whose brother's sister's cousin had type of an encounter, so they had to get in touch with this person, that person, and there were times where I didn't get any calls back, and then there were times where I got more than I thought I was going to.
Yeah, I did a similar thing when I did Mysterious Encounters back, God knows when, a TV show. And there were some towns it would just come out dry, or people didn't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
Then other towns were like, oh my God, the entire town wants to talk to me. Mm-hmm. Like everybody in the town, right down to the postman, had a sighting. And you just wonder, God, if all these people in this town have seen these things, you would think that they would be kind of more said about it. But it's like nobody else knew that other people had seen it.
Well,
but you must have had some surprises, like in.
Yeah. Absolutely. And one of the things that I came across when talking with some of the individuals was, there were a lot of people that were forthcoming. But I think what helped me in this day and age is, I hate to say it, but cryptids and Bigfoot and everything is very mainstream now. Where you go back 20 years, it wasn't. So nowadays, it's a little bit. It's like, for a lot of people, it's not like 20 years ago you say, hey, I saw Bigfoot. Some people would be like, oh, you're crazy, you're nuts. And nowadays, to have an encounter, it's kind of it's like it's cool now. It's like you're not crazy anymore, and I think that was some of the thing that helped some of the people come forward for me. I think it also made a lot of extra work for me, because I had to weed out a lot more people. But I really think, again, because it's mainstream, it's just like with paranormal investigation, it's like mainstream, so it's just like, nobody's afraid to say that they're a Ghostbuster or they're a paranormal investigator. Yeah. Me growing up, the only thing I knew about, paranormal investigation was the movie Ghostbusters. Yeah. It wasn't until probably the first the first episode of, I think it was Ghost Hunters I saw, like I was just happened to be sitting there. I'm like, people really do this? I had no clue. I had no clue that people really did that. And now again, you know, that this is all mainstream. I think it's really confused a lot of the subject, because there's a lot of people getting into it because again, it's cool. And but I think it worked in my favor. But yeah, again, at the same time, it added a lot of work to what I had to do, because I had to talk to, you know, a lot of people to weed out. And again, for me, it just was the right thing to do, to you know, just go with the folks who again didn't believe, they had no intention.
Yeah, the reluctant witness that really didn't want to see it or didn't care to see it.
Me, but also you. The Pharaoh fast forwards his favorite foreign film, Powder Donut. Okay, what's my line?
The only line I see here on the script is get options based on your budget with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive.
Oh man, that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a few more minutes. Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
The Name Your Price tool, only from Progressive.
The owl ran afoul of the comatose coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Nissan believes you deserve a car that thrills you. So we have to ask, does your car thrill you? When you hit the pedal, do you get something back? A chill in your spine, goosebumps on your goosebumps. When you take off, do your fingers tighten around the steering wheel? Does your heart beat in your stomach and your breath catch in your chest? Does driving make you feel alive? Because it should. And if your car doesn't thrill you, ours will. This is the new Nissan.
Yeah, but there they are seeing it. Yeah. Yeah, I find them by and large the most genuine, you know, the most honest, because I've heard stories of, oh, I've seen hundreds of Bigfoot. Yeah, that's, you know, they're around my camp. They're all over the place. One lady was telling me how she hand feeds Bigfoot, and she was naming each and every one of them. So one of the things like that are the definite red flags. Was there any state that surprised you, though? Going into it where you're thinking there's not going to be much lore with this state, but then it just blew your mind. Was there any state like that?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, it was Vermont, where I'm from, because growing up in Vermont, I'd heard like maybe one or two, you know, my entire life living there. I mean, I moved out, like I said, in 2014, and I mean, I was in my late 30s at that point in time, and I really never heard, you know, anybody really ever talking about it. You know, again, it was always Champ, and you know, so you know, when I worked on Vermont, I was surprised that I didn't think I was going to get any encounter. I didn't think I was going to get anything, and I ended up getting like 5 or 6 people that you know, ended up saying, you know, hey, they've had this encounter, or they thought that they saw something. You know, again, a few of them turned out, you know, to be, you know, individuals that were out looking at the same time. And I ended up coming across this lady, and she's like, yeah, my son and his girlfriend or his wife, and let me see if he'd be willing to talk to you about it. And they ended up connecting with me, and they were just, it was right around, I believe it was right around Christmas or right after Christmas, and they were coming back from a party or an outing, and they got to this intersection, and right in his headlights, right in front of him, him and his wife saw it, and then that was it. Turned and it was gone, and you know, there was no, like, they gave some detail, but it was very brief, so there wasn't a lot. So I was really surprised by that, and you know, when he first got on the phone with me too, he was very standoffish, which intrigued me more and made me want to keep him on the phone. And it made, you know, I you know, with certain people that were very standoffish, I kind of at times, you know, I worked at sales and marketing, so I kind of had to put like the salesman thing on and kind of push to a degree to you know, get it to that next level, to
get him to open up to you and really feel like he could. Yeah.
Because the thing is like, I only have a certain amount of time, and I can't necessarily like build a relationship with this person over the phone, especially considering it's somebody that I've never met. So when they found out I was from Vermont and stuff like that, he definitely loosened up. But yeah, so I would say, all the other states, you always hear about encounters. You hear about monsters. In Vermont, you hear about lake monsters, but you don't hear a whole lot about Bigfoot. So I was really surprised. I was really surprised.
Yeah, because I think of covered bridges, maple syrup, and champ.
Yeah.
When I think about Vermont, I don't think about Bigfoot because, like you said, I've never, maybe unless Doug has, but I have not heard any encounters out of Vermont. How about you, Doug? Have you heard of, in your travels and talking to all these people?
Yeah.
Have you heard of a Vermont story?
Yes, many.
Okay.
Many.
Not me. That's awesome.
There seems to be there's a whole bunch of cryptozoologists coming out of Vermont now.
Really?
Guys like like Nate Brislin. He must have Nate.
Oh, he came out of Vermont?
Yeah.
See, I know he lives in
John
Maine. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I could name a whole bunch of them.
Oh.
But there's more and more. And then there's that whole area. I mean, Vermont's not a giant state, but New Hampshire and Vermont I would consider them hotspots. I mean, they're beautiful, beautiful states.
Yeah.
Was there one person or one story that kind of gave you chills? You know what I mean? That just kind of got you? Can you recall?
Yep.
Can you recall that story for us in your own way, your own words?
Yeah. It was actually, I ended up talking to, and this is why it really stuck out to me. I ended up talking to a rancher, a cattle rancher. Those guys aren't afraid of anything. I mean, those guys will eat a Bigfoot for breakfast. That's how I've always seen it. And I ended up, it was in the last chapter of the book, I ended up talking to a cattle rancher, and it was in the early hours of the morning, and it was still dark out, and he just heard like all kinds of commotion going on with his livestock. So he went out, and they were all kind of huddled in this one corner, and so he ended up getting his shotgun, and he didn't know what he was going to come across, so he ended up going out there and flashing his flashlight out into the area where where a lot of them would graze, and he ended up seeing this tall creature, this tall, dark, shadowy creature standing there, and he ended up taking a shot at it, and he saw it take off running, and he went back into his house, and went out the next day, to look for blood. He couldn't find anything, but that really stuck out to me. It kind of gave me the chills because one of my good friends, his dad, was a cattle rancher in Vermont. His name was Sonny Miller, and he lived in the Morrisville area, and that guy wasn't afraid of anything. I mean, that guy could pick up a cow, and so to have somebody that is just so hardcore like that, to just be just kind of, one, at a loss for words, but then two, just kind of when it starts talking about the encounter. Like the beginning of the conversation was just normal, just two guys talking, but then talking about any of the details or how he felt, hearing his voice crack and kind of tremble, like that stuff brought kind of chills to the hair standing up in the back of my neck, and so that was one that really really stuck out to me. There was another one. Where a gentleman, he was living in a trailer, and he ended up losing power, so he went out to start his generator up, and he just heard this like ungodly scream that just made your body want to crumble, and he was just explaining that to me, and how he turned around, and in the distance, near some thicket of the woods, he saw this creature standing there, and again, I a lot of them really struck me, and really there was I felt like these individuals' emotions. So a lot of them were like that, but I mean, I'd say those two right there were just again, talking to these individuals and just their voice and hearing it go from, hey, I'm a man, down to hey, I just got to tell you type of thing. And so the encounters were chilling. They were definitely creepy. They were scary. They were quick. They didn't last long, but it was enough where, again, I could feel what they had felt.
Exactly. You're right. And how many, though, of all the encounters that you've heard with Bigfoot, it's in your book, and of course everyone needs to go pick this book up again, American Cryptids in Pursuit of the Elusive Creatures. Get that. That's Kenney Irish's book. Check it out. It's up there on Amazon. You can get it right now. Highly suggest you get it. But anyhow, that plug thrown out there. How many were violent? How many of these encounters were violent encounters, and how many were just flashing, happenstance, wrong place, wrong time kind of encounter?
Yeah, there were a couple where weren't necessarily. There was one that sticks out that I would say would probably be considered violent, where there was a gentleman who was fishing. And he ended up, all these pieces of wood kind of came flying at him, and he kind of heard this loud smash noise, crack noise, and he turned around, and when he looked up, and over this cliff up above him, what he saw was a large bipedal hairy creature, and it had this log, and it was slamming it up against a tree. At first, I was like, okay, that just kind of goes against what a lot of Bigfoot, Sasquatch do. They try not to be seen, they try to not, so, I'm listening to him as he goes on, and I definitely found him to be credible, but I'd say that was probably, out of all of them, the one that was most violent. He ended up just, when he saw what he saw, he got up and got out of there, and he came back later in that day with some friends to retrieve his stuff and to look for different evidence and everything. But he said when he got there, all those pieces of wood from that log that it was hitting up against the tree where they originally were. Obviously the creature that he saw wasn't there anymore, but I'd say that was probably the most violent. Some of the other ones, stood there, made some yells, some growls, but then took off. Where this left, yeah, right, where this gentleman really tried to he turned around, and as he was running with his back to it, he could still hear the log hitting the other tree. So that behavior again isn't common from what I hear, and again that was probably one where he said it was probably like 2 minutes, but like less than 30 seconds of it was him looking up and seeing it, and the rest of the time was him running in the other direction and just hearing the noise. So that would definitely, I would say, without a doubt, would have been the one that stuck out to me as violent. Again, the other ones were just, they saw it in the distance, crossed the road. They were hiking and they saw something in the distance and coming towards them, or crossed behind them, and so that's what a lot of them were. And I actually, it's funny because I actually had some people actually read the book and write to me directly and say, "Hey, I love the book, but I didn't like some of your Bigfoot sightings, the encounters." And I said, "Well, why is that?" And they're like, "Well, it was more of a I saw something, I know what I saw, but I don't know what I saw, this and that." And I told him, I said, "Well, I said, I don't know what to tell you." I said, my whole point with this book was I was writing a nonfiction book, and nonfiction, I wasn't going to take these people's stories and then add my opinion and add my exaggeration into it to make it sell. It was surprising that I actually, because again, in my experience, I mean, I've heard where, a minute or so, type of encounter, but but for the most part, I mean, they're really not. From the majority of the people that I've spoken to, it's they see it and then it turns and it's gone. The gentleman who leads up the group, I'm with a research group called the New York Bigfoot Society, and our research area is just outside of Whitehall, New York, in the Adirondacks. And Gary has been doing paranormal investigation for like 26, 27 years, and he's been doing Sasquatch research for probably about 13 or 14 years. He has a degree in education in animal behavior. So he's very logical. Like he's an outdoorsman. Like he'll be that guy that will, on his day off, just walk 5 miles into the woods to turn around and walk back out. Like he's a survivalist. And that's one of the reasons I joined the group, was because I knew like my survival skills in the woods were weak and his were really strong, so I could learn a lot. So he's very, very logical and can break things down and be like, no, this is what this was, because again, his education is in animal behavior, and in different areas in science. And so back in January of this year, was the second or third week, I'm at work and I get this message from him. He's like, I just saw a Bigfoot. I just stopped what I was doing, because Gary doesn't say that, for him to say something like that. He had walked, he was about 3.5, 4 miles out in the middle of nowhere in the Adirondacks. And he wasn't out there researching Bigfoot. He was just out there just loving the forest, loving the area. He was looking, for different tracks to see what types of animals were in that area that were passing through. And he just got this weird feeling something was looking at him. So he looked up, and there was on this edge of like this ledge, I think he said probably maybe 50, 60 yards away from him, he saw a Bigfoot. He saw a Sasquatch, and he hurried up, quickly took out his phone, snapped a picture. He saw it just go up over the cliff. So he immediately did the right thing by taking another picture to show that what he took a picture of isn't there now.
Yeah.
And he was it was really icy, so he was concerned about like trying to go up around and follow where it went. But he was going to, my understanding is he was going to, but right as he was about to, there were 2 forest rangers that showed up like out of nowhere, just like showed up. And normally, they'll come over and they'll be like, what are you doing here? They'll start questioning you.
Yeah.
They acted like they were afraid he was going to ask them what they were doing there. So they were very, we can only believe, because again, this is like 3.5 miles out into the Adirondacks. Yeah. There's nothing out there. Just happened to show up. So, this is just a theory, obviously, but, whatever Gary saw, what he believed to see as a Sasquatch, we believe that they were probably tracking it.
It makes sense. That would make complete sense.
We just don't understand any other reason why 2 of them show up, because a lot of the time it's one, and then again, not to do their normal thing and be surprised when they see you, because normally they're watching you and they know everything you're doing, and then they come over and they question you. This encounter was completely different, and Gary, like he's adopted trails, and he's done like training where if people get lost in the woods, like he's like one of the people they'll send out to try to find them, and so it was just it was odd for Gary. He hasn't necessarily been the same since then. He's just.
What area was that, Kenney?
That was just outside of Whitehall, New York.
It was.
Yep.
Are you I would imagine you're familiar with the entire Whitehall debacle that went down with the sightings with Brian Goslin and all those guys. Do you know Brian? Have you met him?
I don't know Brian. No, I know of Brian, but I've never met Brian. And I know like Paul Bartholomew.
Yep. Okay.
He's out there. I'm actually they do that Sasquatch festival every September. Yep. So I'm actually I was supposed to be at it last year, but they canceled due to COVID. So I'll be a speaker at it this year. So which is great, because like I know Paul, but like we've never crossed paths, so it'll be nice to actually be able to talk to Paul. So I'll probably be able to meet the other gentleman too. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, Whitehall is when you go to Whitehall, it's like the perfect Bigfoot habitat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've heard that before. The Whitehall is very active.
Gentle, yeah, it's kind of like gentle mountains, tons of water, swamps, moose, just every kind of wildlife you could imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like perfect Bigfoot habitat.
It is. They consider it the epicenter of Bigfoot sightings on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Is, Whitehall.
Do you believe that in all your conversations with people, if you had to put a percentage on it, how many are misidentifications? I mean, is that a real common thing?
And I know this, I've been asked this question before, and I know it upsets some people, but I personally believe, probably 50% of them are probably misidentifications. And
I would concur with you too, Kenny, on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But even if only one,
even
if it's
only one has to be legit,
doesn't matter.
Yes.
Yeah. Doesn't make any difference.
Agreed. It's funny too, because, a lot of folks have been talking about how, Dogman is now popular. Like, people are coming out of the woodworks now talking about that they had a Dogman, encounter. So, and the reason I bring that up is because I was talking to this one gentleman. This one gentleman reached out to me and he said, hey, I saw a Bigfoot, so, I had the conversation with him, and this was in New York, and I'm like, can you tell me about it? So he's telling me about it and everything, and it could, in this guy's mind, it could not be anything else. It had to be this. So I said, okay, and I kind of did him a little dirty. I said to him, okay, wow, where was this again? And he told me, and I said, wow, I'm surprised to hear that, there was a Sasquatch in that area, because I said, that's known for Dogman, sightings. And he said, well, I guess it could have been a dog, and at that point in time, so I'm just like, okay, there was a misidentification on something. You don't really 100% know what you saw. I mean, I didn't have this conversation with him like I'm having with you right now, saying, by the way, I just tripped you up. Because I'm not that type of guy, but it's just like this guy was so adamant, like beyond like a shadow of a doubt, which is okay, which is good. But the story, like you could tell he wasn't sure, and I guess I kind of wanted to know that he wasn't sure. And he said, yeah, I guess you know what, yeah, it could have been. And I'm like, all right, so in my mind I'm thinking, okay, so you don't 100% know exactly what you saw. You saw something that you couldn't explain, that shouldn't have been there.
Well, it seems to me wherever there's bears, especially American black bears, there's misidentifications.
Yeah.
Because they'll see that flash of black, or they'll see the flash of this, or a flash of that. Heck, even deer have been taken. White-tailed deer have been taken for Bigfoot. Yeah. Not because they saw a silhouette, but they saw the coloring moving through the woods.
Sure.
Like, what else could it possibly be? Kind
of thing. And not to mention bushes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Shadows, bushes. Oh my God. I get at least half the photos I get are just bushes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And trees. It's like, okay.
Yeah, well,
stump squatch.
Zoom in. It's like,
yeah. Just
it only gets worse when I do that.
Yeah, it's a stump squatch.
But yet, that has nothing to do with the witnesses that have two people in the car. Thing walks right in front of their car in their headlights.
Correct.
That's a totally different kind of sighting.
Yeah.
I don't even put them in the same category.
I agree.
They're nothing in common.
Yep, I agree.
Do you think this Dogman phenomenon it's kind of really going crazy? It's all over the country. Do you think that we're dealing with misidentified Bigfoots, or are we dealing with imagination, or what in the heck is going on?
To go back to what I said earlier in our conversation, I think again nowadays it's cool to say you had an encounter with something. So there's a couple theories that I have. One, somebody saw something that resembled something bipedal that was canine. They don't necessarily know exactly what it was, but now they're coming out again because you're not seen as a nut job now. You get a lot of attention now. Some attention, can be really negative, but you get a lot of attention now for it. So again, I think the fact that cryptids are, and monsters are mainstream, that everybody thinks they're cool now. And so now, if somebody saw something in the woods that they didn't know, and now they see a picture and part of it resembles maybe something that the flash of what they saw, well, it's cool to come out now again and say that you had an encounter. Or I don't. Yeah. I mean, and I don't want to come across in a way that is saying, that people are just looking for attention, because obviously you do have that, but you do have people that really saw something that they can't explain. But again, I think that with the fact that you can come out now and not be ridiculed, you come out now and there's people there that will come beside you and be like, tell me about it. And which I think is a good thing, because I think for years there's a lot of people that haven't been able to talk about it because there wasn't enough people willing to talk about it or be associated with somebody that said that they saw something. Now there is. So again, I think that there's just with it being mainstream and popular, it's creating a lot of confusion in the subject. But at the same time, I think for me, I guess how I get past that is I think of the people that encountered something that they can't explain to this day, and they're able to now come out and maybe talk about it and maybe get it off their chest.
Did you hear about a really amazing Dogman story though? I mean, have you ever heard of one personally that really went, God, there's no way they could have misidentified it? No,
not really. It's I'd say maybe I had one guy or one individual who I don't know. I mean, it's like they describe the Wolfman pretty much to me, a werewolf. Which if I always tell people, because people will ask me, they're like, do you think they're the same or do you think they're different? And and I always say that from the first time, I mean, I'd heard of the werewolf before I had ever heard of any type of Dogman. But me personally, I put them in the same category, because as far as I'm concerned, I think the werewolf, there's some truth behind it, and I think it may have something to do where individuals are having Dogman sightings. I personally think for years they've talked about werewolves. They've talked about people shape-shifting into werewolves. So I personally, and again, it's just my theory, that anything that people believe is Dogman, I believe could potentially be some type of shapeshifter or werewolf.
It could be, but remember, Dogman came on the scene about the same time when the big black-eyed children phenomena was around too. You remember that, where that was all the rage, stuff like that. So it kind of goes in waves. Yeah. The high strangeness, but when people talk to me like about Dogman or really anything, I just kind of, especially when they're very passionate and it's beyond, and they claim that this is what they've seen, I would just kind of say, well, extraordinary claims still require extraordinary evidence to back that up. And to yet now, there's, I'm not aware, unless I'm completely wrong and someone can correct me, there's not a shred of physical evidence to support the existence of a Dogman.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
That I've ever seen.
I've been looking. I haven't seen anything yet.
No. I mean, I've had people, send me, photos of prints in the ground. Then I'm like, okay, well, where's the pen? Where's the boot?
Yeah, I always want to know where is the next footprint?
Right.
There's always just one.
Yeah, and I'm seeing some pretty big gray wolves in my area.
The reasons to treat yourself to a frozen drink from McDonald's go on and on. No reason is also a perfectly good reason. It's more than a drink. It's a McDonald's drink. Enjoy our new frozen drinks today. Treat yourself to bold flavors like blue raspberry Fanta, wild cherry Fanta, and frozen Coke.
participating McDonald's, Coca-Cola, and Fanta are registered trademarks of the Coca-Cola Company.
With equipment breakdown coverage from American Family Insurance, you can protect all the things that keep your dream home running, from sudden mechanical or electrical issues. Because this sound shouldn't mean... Contact your local agent or visit amfam.com to learn more. American Family Insurance. Insure carefully. Dream fearlessly.
Refer to policy for equipment breakdown covered losses, deductible limitations, and exclusions. American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating company, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin. Products not available in every state.
That people have tried to pass off as dogman prints, and I'm pretty good. I know exactly how the weight distribution works in a wolf that got 4 feet.
Yeah.
So if it was on 2 feet, you'd have a much deeper impression.
Right.
There'd be a lot of variable, differences between a gray wolf track and a dogman track.
Well, what bothers me more than anything is the inconsistency of the reports.
Mm-hmm.
They don't seem very consistent.
Yeah.
I
agree.
No, not really.
So do you get into like UFO stuff too, Kenney? Do you do research on that? And
I have. I'd say I probably back in like 2005, 2006, really kind of, for a couple of years, kind of dived into it. And I never really ended up going anywhere with it.
Yeah.
It was like, it was almost worse than, trying to find answers for a cryptid. It's just like, it's okay. Well, somebody said, hey, I saw a UFO. Well, I can go in that area and look up in the sky and see a bunch of stars, and because a UFO is going to leave the planet. That's my understanding. It's going to leave the planet. A Bigfoot, if it's living in that area, it's going to be in that area. So I should be able to go back and at least find something. So I love, extraterrestrial stories. I've got a good friend who claims that he wasn't abducted, but he believed that he was going to be. He was laying in his bed, and it came through a window. It was kind of like water, and he's somebody that you guys should definitely have on your show. He's very, very interesting guy, very, very good guy. He does filmmaking. He just did some filming with Stacey Brown out in Florida, and he did the filming for the documentary for Ron Moorhead. So
Gotcha.
yeah, so he's he's a credible guy, and and he believes that Sasquatch could be extraterrestrial, because we hear about those times, the sightings where individuals say that they witnessed something, some identified object flying around, and then they see a Bigfoot after. I personally don't believe they're extraterrestrial. My theory on it is, I still see them as flesh and blood. So like a lot of animals, they're kind of drawn to different energies, and who knows, that might be why individuals do see that. But as far as UFOs though, I mean, with what the government's been talking about, in the last year or so, it's been I don't know, it's been kind of interesting. I find it even more interesting that they decided to say, hey, they do exist. By the way, COVID's going to kill you. It's like, okay, so I'm thinking, when they do come out and say Sasquatch does exist, it's going to possibly be when the next pandemic comes out, so that way everybody's worried about that. It's like, hey, no, we told you, but so it just kind of, I found it just kind of funny, and then I was talking to some people I know who are conspiracy theorists, and so I said to him, it's like, do you think the coronavirus is extraterrestrial? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I don't mean like, is it extraterrestrial? Is it a virus that came from some type of alien or extraterrestrial, and now we've got it now, and that's why they decided to say that aliens exist. And I mean, you know, to me, it was just a question. To them, it like blew their mind, and they ran with it. So I don't know what they're doing with it right now, but it just I just thought it was kind of funny the timing. So, but like I said, you know, they'll admit that you know Sasquatch does exist, but like I said, they gotta wait for the next pandemic to come out.
So wait for the big news
sneaking
cycle.
in there.
Yeah, the big news cycle, the next damning thing that's gonna kill us all. And,
Exactly.
and in the next breath, they'll say, "Oh yeah, by the way, Bigfoot's around."
Yep.
Yeah, you know, so we're all looking that way instead of looking right instead of left. What's your feelings on the Mothman? I mean, you must have come across that. Of course, Point Pleasant, West Virginia.
Yep.
What do you think? I mean, you think it was a cryptid? You think it was a misidentified owl? What's your take?
You know, I don't. You know, the story behind it is awesome. I think it's very, very cool. I don't necessarily believe the Mothman made the bridge collapse. Could be 100% wrong. Maybe it did. I don't know. You know, I've talked to different individuals that have had different theories on it. Like one, large owl, misidentification. I've also had individuals tell me that they believe that it was a demon. That it was some type of extraterrestrial being. So again, it's like with these cryptids, it's like the more you look into it, the more you try to get some type of handle, the more questions you have. But like I said earlier in the show, that's, I guess, kind of what keeps me going too, is just the mystery behind it. But I don't know. I like the fact of it being the Mothman, man with moth wings on it. And I love the fact of that. I would hate the fact of it being any type of demon, because I hate paranormal stuff. I run from ghost stuff. That's just not, demons, that stuff I don't mess with. I'm a Christian. I avoid all that. But so I've heard many different theories of what it could be. But I was really surprised again when somebody said to me, they're like, "Oh, well, we believe it was a demon." I'm like,
I've never heard the demon angle personally. That that they thought it was a demon. That's interesting that they would say that, because I've heard alien. I've heard, that's the popular thought. It was an alien or some type of alien cryptid or, things like that, but never the demon. So that's interesting.
Yeah, somebody once said, in Mount St. Helens, when Mount St. Helens erupted, they said that's when the bat squatch started showing itself. There's people that actually say that they believe that the bat squatch is a man that's actually possessed. I was
gonna stop you right there. This is the first time, and maybe Doug, you've heard of this. I'm sure you have. A bat squatch?
Sure.
Bat squatch, yeah.
What exactly is a bat squatch?
It's like a Mothman. It's a winged creature that flies around and swoops at people, and
that looks like a Bigfoot.
Yeah, it doesn't flap its wings, just like all the reports, and I don't know. It's probably all the same. I would imagine they're all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that originated when Mount St. Helens back in the 80s,
I remember that,
erupted, and they're saying that because part of the earth on the side of the building, it released whatever was living down in there, and somebody said, like, it's actually like a portal to hell, and that's where it came from. So I've heard all kinds of different crazy things, but yeah, that's where that actually originated from.
Yep.
Wow. That's a new one. That's a new one. I should have heard about that a long time ago.
These things are swarming around Chicago right now.
That's right. I was going to bring that up next.
Yeah.
Can you believe that's what's in Chicago is a bat squatch? I mean, because they kind of died down now, as far as I'm aware, the sightings in Chicago. But for a long time, a good, 6-8 months, it was pretty fast and furious.
That was crazy.
Yeah, it's like who knows where it came about. Sometimes too, if you go looking into some of these stories from not, I guess, from a cryptid point of view, but you go looking into it from a business point of view, a lot of the time, sometimes you can trace it back to some type of marketing for some type of product or some type of event. And, you know, it was like for instance, I remember I read this story. This has nothing to do with cryptids, but this is just an example. I read this article on how coffee is good for you. You know, I love coffee. I'm a coffee drinker, but it gave every reason why it was good. And it was put out by this reporter, journalist, blah blah blah. Well, you do enough research going back into it. Well, it was paid for by Folgers. You know, they paid to have this written, and you know, so you know, sometimes too, you know, when something shows up and blows up big, sometimes you can trace it back to, you know, there's a reason for it. There's a reason people are talking about it. You know, it's just something, you know, was on TikTok or this or that, and you know, something blew up. But not always, but there's times where you can actually go and kind of trace it back and go, oh, this is what this is about.
Yeah,
exactly. You know, who's paying money to have this talked about?
So, have you had any kind of experiences, Kenney? I mean, if you're going into Whitehall, certainly you must have got mud on your boots at least.
Oh yeah. You know, and Doug, I got to be honest with you. I'm the guy that's always late to the party. I am the guy after the fact every single time. Have I had experiences? Absolutely. Have I been able to lay my eyes on something? Nope, it has not happened yet.
Well, why don't you relay some of your, you know, I mean, even though they're not sightings, some of the experiences can be quite powerful.
Yeah. I would say one of the things we do is Gary is very you know, technical, and you know, so we do a lot of things. Like we bring out flares, you know, we bring out all kinds of equipment, but the main, it's funny, the main equipment that we use, we'll use the trail cams, but we love putting up digital recorders out through the area to hear what's going on. And usually the reason why we have the trail cams, not necessarily to catch a Bigfoot, a picture of a Bigfoot, but more to see what's going on in the area, because the animals and the behavior of the animals in the area will tell you a lot about what's going on and what's happening. So one experience that we had was we put like Cheerios out in all these different areas, left for 2 weeks, and came back. Nothing was touched. Absolutely nothing. I mean, there's deer out there, there's squirrel, there's just, you name it, it's out there. Nothing for 2 weeks was touched. We did come across in our research area a couple prints that definitely looked like they were prints, without a doubt. They were the same size as another print that we found probably maybe 50 yards from our research area. And so we left the cameras up again, came back 2 weeks later, and everything was completely gone. So, you know, for us, you know, we're when we go out, we try to look for patterns. Say, okay, so if there's something in the area, you know, at this time of the month, it seems like there's no activity. Why? You know, what type of elfie predators in there? And we're not saying that it's because it's a Sasquatch or anything, but at the same time, it kind of gives us a pattern to go back on to go and look, and maybe come in the middle of that time, you know, next month, and see what's going on, see what's happening. So when you get it consistently for 2 weeks, there's nothing in the area, no activity, and then, you know, then you're getting all these pictures of deer, and then all of a sudden you're not getting it again. It just kind of, again, gives us a pattern to go back and follow up and see what's going on there. So that was a strange experience, although, again, it could be a bear in that area. There's many things that it could have been, but again, you know, to also find the prints in that area that we couldn't throw out, because a lot of the time we see something that looks like a print, we're able to throw it out like 3 seconds after we see it. These we weren't able to. We were not able to explain what they could be and how they had gotten there. Another experience we had digital recorders up. You know, we keep it basic, but but yet, there's certain Hollywood things that we'll do. A lot of folks do the tree knocks. We wanted to do something different because for us it was more of a like we wanted to just kind of like test the theory. And so every time we were hitting a tree with a stick or whatever, it would break. It sounded different every single time. So, we're flesh and blood guys. So we're like, well, primates, they're always clanging rocks. They're doing stuff with rocks. So we decided, well, why don't we start throwing rocks at trees? And every single time when we did it, we got the same exact sound every single time. And it was loud too. Like I was thinking, well, you're gonna throw it out, it's just gonna make like this little bang noise, nothing big, but it actually really it echoed and it really flowed. So Gary radioed to me and another one of the researchers. We were about 500-600 yards away. We were out. We could see Gary out at base camp with our tech guy Luke, and he said, "Hey, I'm gonna do a tree knock with a rock." So we could see him in the distance. We saw him do it. We heard it, and he said, "All right, I just did it." So we just sat there, and like 45 seconds later, we heard the same exact sound come back. Again, we could see Gary and Luke, so we could see that they hadn't moved. And by chance, our digital recorders picked it up, and it was clear as day. So that was a very cool experience. A couple things that we looked at to try to rule out was, because sometimes if the wind's blowing a little bit, some trees will sway, make a crack noise that kind of sounds like it. This was about 2 a.m.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/offer. That's ZipRecruiter.com/offer.
Absolutely no wind, nothing, dead of summer. So we can't necessarily explain it. That same night, we actually could hear something walking in the woods. It sounded like it was about 60-70 yards from us. We used the equipment we had to try to pick up heat signatures, body temperatures, nothing. There wasn't anything there. But yet we could still hear it moving. But I would probably say the last time that I went out with the team, we ended up going into this one side of our research area. And again, I'm big into the Native American lore. So I said, hey, why don't we do this? Why don't we go out? Why don't we play Native American chanting and drumming? So we brought a laptop out there, brought a speaker, played it. And it was just the forest was so dark and the music was going. And it was eerie, but yet it was very, very cool at the same time. So, So we played it, and then after we could hear something kind of walking in the distance, but again, we have no clue what it was, couldn't pick anything up on anything. So we ended up wrapping it up, and when we were on our way back to the cars, when we got out near where the cars were, I looked back, and there was a light in the woods. And this is an area that we researched, so we know it wasn't like swamp gases or anything. There wasn't, we were all accounted for, and it was just a light out in the middle of the woods that was just sitting there, not on a trail, absolutely nothing, just sitting there, and it was kind of flickering a little bit. So that was kind of a cool experience. We can't explain it. A lot of folks talk about, seeing lights in the woods, when they're out searching for Sasquatch or different cryptids. Again, that was a very cool experience. There was an even cooler experience that I didn't get to experience, but Gary and his fiance did when they went out into that area. His trail cam, he took it down and it started taking pictures. So he's like, okay, the button's jammed or whatever. So he pulled the batteries out of it. And when he pulled the batteries out of it, there could still be a little bit of a charge there where it might take another picture or so, but then it stops. Well, it went on for like 20 some odd seconds where even with the batteries out, it kept taking pictures. So that was kind of freaked him out a little bit, but he's like, whatever. And then all his other equipment just completely, the batteries just drained, just immediately, just drained. So they said, all right, let's get out of here. Let's call it a night. And when he got over to his car, which was only 2 years old, and they drove about an hour and a half to get there, stopped, got gas, shut the car off, turned it back on. The car wouldn't start. The battery was dead. So they were stuck there for a while. And then some gentleman came by in a truck. And so he's like, yeah, I'll give you guys, they had jumper cables, put it on there. Car would not start. They ended up having to have it towed the next day, and the battery was completely dead, 100% drained. 2 years old. That was it. And it wasn't enough in there to even jump it with a full battery. So because of that, we started, the New York Bigfoot Society started a side project, which we're kind of wrapping up right now, called Project X, where we're out there actually testing the theories of Sasquatch and the paranormal. And just because, again, it just kind of, we're data people. So we wanted to go out and try to get data, try to get, different information, different, experiences. And so due to that, Project X came about, and we ended up getting some other researchers in New York who are ambassadors of the New York Bigfoot Society, who were doing, some of the experiments and projects as well, out in their area, like in the Buffalo, New York area, down near New York City, even further up in upstate New York. So again, trying to, find answers, or at least get some type of data, some type of, numbers that we could look at and compare. And the one thing that we can say, in every single time that we've done it, is when you go into the woods, and you play for at least 30 minutes, you play Native American chanting and drumming, there will be lights after. It's happened 5 or 6 times. So
it's consistent, it's repeatable.
It was consistent, yeah. So we started calling it the Adirondack Lights. But here's the other thing, the people down in like the Buffalo, New York area, further up in upstate New York and in southern New York, all had the same experience. So there's something there. Again, we don't have an answer to why it's doing it, but we have consistency across the board.
What do you think it is? Just your own theory.
Well, I do believe in spirits. I do believe in angels and in different aspects like that. So I'm thinking that they're, the Native Americans, a lot of them talked about, Sasquatch being of flesh and blood and of spirit. I haven't been able to pinpoint exactly what that means. It sounds like it just means, okay, flesh and blood, and they can turn into something. They can turn into ghosts. That's how a lot of people see it. So I don't,
Yeah, that's. It's such a strange phenomena to happen, but not just to you, but to many different people in many different locations, playing the Native American the music to and then having those lights appear. We've had other guests that would say that paranormal is connected. Whether it be Bigfoot with whatever, because when you find a place that's like haunted, you dig far enough, people will talk about Bigfoot sightings too. Or alien abductions, or this or that. They all seem to be kind of related I don't want to say directly, but at least indirectly related. This different phenomena. So would it be shocking that if playing that music elicited some type of spiritual response? No, I mean that would make very much sense, and it almost has to, because you guys are getting phantom lights, right? But not just once, but almost every time.
Yeah, and the thing is, our goal was to not get the lights. It was to say that this was a fluke. Like when we go out to do it, we don't try to go out to prove it. We try to go out to say, okay, this was a fluke. this is why this is why that is. Like, you know, at no point in time we're like, you know, hey, you know, we hope we get it, you know, because if we don't get it, well, okay, well, that makes sense. Okay, then that was just whatever happened that time.
Yeah.
But now it's just like, it's just really weird now. Yeah, it's just, you know, again, you know, just trying to do different types of, you know, just kind of test, you know, different theories of what individuals are coming to us saying. And, you know, and the thing about it is the ambassadors that we have, like, they all have, like, different theories of what is what. So for some of them to say, okay, yeah, this happened, it actually goes against what they actually believe. So again, so for me, it's like it's even more impressive.
I don't want to interrupt you, but can you describe the lights and what they did? You know, size, height, the altitude. You know, how close they got to you guys.
Sure. Yeah. For the ones that I was on, it was probably maybe, I don't know. I can't really say how far away it was. All I know is that, like, it was in the woods. It was probably maybe, I don't know, 60 yards away, maybe, potentially. And as you kind of walked closer to it, it would get dimmer and then kind of disappear. And as you got further back, then it would get brighter. Which was very, very strange, because obviously we want to go in, we want to see why this is here, where it's coming from, and, you know, we also want to, you know, the fact that, you know, it's the middle of the night, you know, we're assuming there's nobody walking around with a flashlight, but then at the same time, if they're walking around with a flashlight, the light would actually be moving. Where the light wasn't moving, it would just get dimmer the closer you'd get to it, and they get brighter when you got further back. It would stay in the same area. Some of the locations from that I wasn't at, it did the same thing, but then eventually disappeared and didn't come back. The last one that I was on, where I saw it, it was still there when we drove away.
How big were they, Kenney?
I'd say maybe softball size, or just a little bit smaller than a softball, maybe baseball size, maybe.
So you're talking about orbs of light.
It looked like orbs of light, yeah. Yep.
And you're sure they weren't anything else?
No, definitely wasn't anything else. Again, this is kind of out in the middle of nowhere. You know, about 11 o'clock at night. There's no camping there. There's nothing there. And it was from the area that we had just come from. And again, you know, if it was, you know, somebody who was hiking or whatever, I mean, the light would eventually move, or it would go out. Like it didn't. It stayed right there. And the closer, again, when you walked closer to it, it would dim, which, you know,
it should have gotten brighter.
Agreed.
So it did the opposite.
Agreed. Yep.
And here you were, Kenney, just 10 minutes ago saying you've never seen a UFO. Those are UFOs. I mean, obviously,
you're right.
It was probably flying, I would imagine. Or did it look like it was actually in the tree?
No, it looked like it was
floating.
To a degree, yeah, to a degree. And again, I wouldn't say that it looked like it was in a tree, because as you walked closer to it, and you walked by trees, and you went through different clearings, you could see that it wasn't hanging from anything. And again, if it was any type of light, anything, like even somebody put something up hanging there, I mean, it would, as you get closer, it shouldn't fade.
No, right?
Yeah. That's a head scratcher. Unfortunately, though, we're getting out of time there, Doug.
I got time for one more.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Did those lights light up, you know, like anything in the forest floor, any glow around it? So it was just the light, and that's
just
it.
The light.
Like
just the light. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
It didn't light up anything around it. It was just there.
Yeah, you hear
self-illuminating.
Yeah. But they don't illuminate. These lights apparently don't illuminate the ground.
No
don't
ambient light.
The trees. So it's very, very bizarre.
It was just its own. It was its own light. It was just its own thing.
I'd like to hear from many of our listeners whether or not they've seen, the researchers are listening, whether they've seen something similar.
Blaine took Alex out, his older brother, and they see these lights constantly, and Alex just didn't believe it. He's like, I got to see it for myself. So of course Blaine takes Alex out. He sees the lights all night long, changing, lighting up. You know what I mean? The whole thing. Alex will never go again.
Yeah.
That's the end of it. Yep.
Yeah, that'd be a little rattled. I'd be a little rattled, a little shaking there. So, but again, I gotta, Kenney, thank you so much for coming on. But before we go, can you tell the audience all about your websites and how they can get a hold of you, stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I can be contacted through my website, which is kwirish.com. Also the cryptopunkologist.com. You can find me on Facebook under Kenney W. Irish, the Cryptopunkologist. You can find me on Instagram under Kenney Irish Author. You can find me on Twitter under Kenney Irish Author. Reach out to me, follow me, let you know what's going on. I'm going to be at 4 or 5 different events this year. So if you're in any of those areas, I'd love to meet you. Next month, the weekend of the 23rd, I'm going to be in Townsend, Tennessee, at the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Festival. I'll be speaking there with Ron Moorhead will be there speaking, as well as Cliff Barackman. In August, I'm going to be in Port Henry, New York, at the Lake Champlain Monster Festival. I'll be there with Paul Bartholomew and a couple filmmakers. And then in September, I'll be in Whitehall, New York, with Paul Bartholomew at the Whitehall Sasquatch Festival. October, I'll be in Fort Wayne, Indiana, at DeadCon Festival. Dead Convention, and that's a very different type of event. Like, there's going to be individuals there, like, guys that played Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Sure. Kane Hodder's going to be there, so some guys from Megadeth are going to be there. So it's just going to be a phenomenal time. I'm going to be with Ken Gerhardt. He's going to be at that event. And then in November, I'm going to be in Lexington, Kentucky, speaking at the CryptidCon. So any of those areas, if anybody's out in that area, they're going to those events, please come over, say hi to me, and I'd love to definitely get to know you, and start up a friendship.
Yeah, right. And also check out, in the meantime, American Cryptids in Pursuit of Elusive Creatures, available on Amazon and other bookstores. Check it out. Again, Kenney W. Irish, a.k.a. the Cryptopunkologist. You've heard him here. Check it out. And we'd like to hear about your own experiences with Bigfoot. And if you yourself have noticed these lights in the field. And make sure you visit our own website, UntouldRadioAM.com, to hear all of the archives. We got to get out of here, Doug. The end of another show. Take care of each other, love each other. After Hours AM is a production of Midwest Radio Productions. Please like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And please visit www.americas-most-haunted.com.
Everything these days claims to be smart. But that doesn't mean they always work smart. Like when the robot vacuum tried to inhale my foot. Or when the dog food dispenser thought Fetch was underweight.
Dinner time.
One smart thing you can rely on is Pennington Smart Seed. It's so smart, it uses 30% less water year after year and is guaranteed to grow. Pennington Smart Seed. Real intelligent turf.
Me, but also you. The Pharaoh fast forwards his favorite foreign film, Powder Donut. Okay, what's my line?
The only line I see here on the script is get options based on your budget with the name your price tool from Progressive.
Oh man, that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a few more minutes. Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
The name your price tool, only from Progressive.
The owl ran afoul of the comatose coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.